When we first started off with this class, as an American government class, we didn't expect to get into international relations. Yet here we are, week 11, our project's about Brexit, and I hope you guys enjoy this a lot. But let's first start off with what Brexit is. Brexit is the withdrawal of the United Kingdom from the European Union, and for those of you who didn't know, the EU is an economic and political union of 28 European countries, where it allows free trade and free movement of people across the border.
Let's start from the beginning. Why did the UK join the EU? The UK joined the EU to stop its economic decline. From 1950 to 1973, the gap between the EU6, the founding members of the EU, and the UK's GDP decreased from 1/3 to negative 10%. Ultimately, it worked and their economy had been stable ever since. So why leave now? Well, a public vote was held in 2016, and 52% of citizens voted to leave the Union.
Now what's taking so long? The split was originally going to happen on March 29, 2019, but was delayed twice after members of Parliament rejected the former Prime Minister of England, Theresa May, and her deal. The most recent delay pushed it to October 31st, 2020. She has resigned since, and Boris Johnson took over on July 24th. The reason the deal was delayed was mainly because of the border between Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland, which after Brexit will become the border between the United Kingdom and the European Union. For example, if Washington were to join Canada, it would be a border between the United States and Canada, and not just a border between Washington and the United States. They want to avoid a hard border between them, but May had promised the removal of the United Kingdom from the European Union's single market and customs union. The customs union and the single market are what allow members of the European Union free trade in imports. If this happens, border checks will become mandatory. A free trade agreement was in the works, and if the deal passes, this issue could possibly be resolved.
What was wrong with Theresa May's deal? The issue is that May had agreed to a backstop involving the whole UK staying in the customs union indefinitely. The rest of the Conservative Party disagreed, and several of her own ministers resigned in protest. An indefinite backstop would mean that the EU could trap the UK in the union and block their ability to make their own trade deals.
Now, what are the options? There are several possibilities, including no deal at all. A no-deal Brexit would cause chaos between Britain and the EU. The worst-case scenario is a hard border between the Republic of Ireland and the UK. Border checks, tariffs, food shortages, no medical supplies, the list goes on. The UK imports a large amount of supplies required to operate from other countries, and there is a good chance the economy could crash. Ultimately, British and EU laws would become separate, and they would go back to standard international trading rules. The Brexit that the Conservative Party wants is a hard Brexit. Led by Jacob Rees-Mogg and Boris Johnson, a hard Brexit would mean a definitive split, with less rules and regulations for importing/exporting goods, but no freedom of movement for people. Living abroad would be okay, but an application for settlement would be required. A hard Brexit would be like if someone were to come into your house and slap the shit out of you. Something like this. There would be no single market or customs union, and the UK would be relying on the EU for trade tariffs, but it would ultimately be better for Britain's traded goods. This is believed to be the only way to honor the vote. A soft Brexit is more favored by the working class. The changes would be that the border would stay in the customs union and the single market as well as the UK. Although they would most likely miss out on trade deals with China and the United States, a soft Brexit could cause political turmoil as it would undermine the EU democracy. The final deal is the Chequers Deal. This is the deal nobody wants. A Chequers Deal would allow more freedom, trading with other countries, and avoid a hard border at the same time, but free movement would come to an end. The Chequers Deal supporters wanted to stay in the single market only for the goods, but the EU's chief Brexit negotiator, Michael Barnier, explicitly said that there can be no cherry-picking of the single markets. 4 freedoms: free movement of people, goods, services, and capital.